right. Well, let's see here. Good morning for those of you on the West Coast, and for those of you sort of in the middle of the country and the East Coast, good afternoon. We are so excited that you are joining us. We have a phenomenal speaker today. Super excited to have Mary Ann with us. Mary Ann, how are you doing this afternoon? It is afternoon in St. Louis, right?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we are super excited to have you. If you are just joining us, go ahead and open that chat box and let us know where you're dialing in from. I sound really old school when I say that. Where are you zooming in from? We'd love to see where you're from. Go ahead and use that chat. Napa, California. That is usually where I am. Boston, Pasadena, Missoula, Bozeman, a lot of Montana, Minneapolis. All right, go first.
Hawaii, Maui.
Yeah,
Oh,
Morristown, New Jersey. That's fantastic.
Oh,
Oh, they got
hi,
another
Mary.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
Awesome. Flagstaff. Oh, so gorgeous in Flagstaff. Grand Rapids, Lincoln. Wow, look at this, Marianne. You have people all over the country.
I know. I love it.
Hear you speak. That is so exciting. Milwaukee. All right. Do we got any other? I'm going to screw this up. Is it Missourians? Missourians? How do you do it? Someone
Missouri,
from Missouri?
Yeah, Missourians. Birmingham.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada. Ottawa to Canada. Ontario and Ottawa. Fantastic. This is so exciting. Well, listen, Mary Ann has a ton of great information for us today. So I want to jump right into it. I'm going to do a couple housekeeping tidbits, and then I'll hand it over to Mary Ann to just blow us away with all this phenomenal content. So real quick, oops, if I can get this to advance. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we are recording the presentation, and we'll be sending a link to view that recording afterwards, as well as the slides. So not to worry, that will be on its way, most likely this afternoon, although it could arrive tomorrow. So just be on the lookout for that. And then as far as questions go, Mary Ann is super excited for your questions, but the best way to help us manage that is to use that Q&A button. So if you go down to the Zoom control panel and you'll see that Q&A icon, go ahead and click that and use that for your questions. And then chat is great for sharing additional information with the other participants, or just giving out a shout out or whatnot. All right, but use the Q&A section for the Q&A button for your questions. All right. Mm-hmm. So for those of you I haven't had the opportunity to meet, my name is Joshua Meyer. I am part of the marketing team over at Bloomerang, and we are so thrilled that you've decided to join us this afternoon/morning. Just for a little bit about Bloomerang, if you are unfamiliar, Bloomerang is a donor management and online fundraising tool. We would love to have an opportunity, if part of your 2023 planning is finding a new tool or maybe moving off of spreadsheets because you've outgrown spreadsheets or they're just not doing the job, let us know. You can reach out at bloomerang.co/demo, or we'll give you an opportunity at the end of the presentation to just quickly indicate your interest. So enough about that. It is now my pleasure to hand the floor over to Mary Ann, who is going to enlighten us on creating connections with our donors. And I'm going to stop the share here, Mary Ann, and I will let you grab it and take it away.
All right. I am so glad to be here and to share some great information with you. I want to say thank you for taking some time out of your day to learn new approaches and to open your mind to new ways of thinking. And that's kind of my specialty. I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a minute. But I always start every presentation with a promise. And so I'm going to share my screen, but I'll just put the slides up for a bit, and then I will, I'm going to stop the share and we're going to talk about stuff. And so I really like interaction. So please, during this presentation, I will stop and I'll say, hey, do you have any questions, any thoughts or feedback? And you can put your questions in the Q&A. We'll make sure those get answered. But please, I love to hear, because this is the only way I connect with you is through that chat or that Q&A. So keep it hot, keep going. And you can say, Miriam, this is ridiculous. I don't believe you at all. That's fine. I welcome doubts. It's all good. But I have a promise, and my promise at every presentation I give, my promise is that you will have actionable items, things you can implement immediately to attract long-term loyal donors, to build those really good, long-lasting relationships that you've been aching and craving, that helps stabilize an organization no matter what's going on, right? And the world is becoming, we know right now in the last 3 years have taught us that, the thing that we crave is certainty and control, and those two things absolutely are not real. So let's release the need for certainty and control and just step into what is, which is the world is uncertain and in flux and changing. And the long-term loyal donor base helps us stabilize our organization. So let's talk about first the problem. So what is the problem? And I know I have an idea of what is the problem, but I want to ask you, like, what brings you here to me today? Like, what do you want to get better at? You came here because I said, hey, I have this concept called the Philanthropic Heart. So what about that kind of spoke to you? And I would love if you could just drop a comment or two in the chat. Like, what are you struggling with in your ability to connect with and retain donors? Everybody's good. No, everybody's okay. 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 All right. This is good. Okay. Let me see what we got here. The people are concerned about the economy. Okay. That is new to the organization. Too many fires and plans, no focus. Okay. Accurate. Okay. Finding interested donors in general. Yeah. Going from transactional giving to transformational giving. Ooh, those words, that's some Jessa, that is so right. Like, because people want to feel transformed, and we're going to talk a lot about that. So I'm so glad. Being genuine and not looking for a handout. Oh my goodness, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay. All right. This is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, because that helps me make sure I can meet your needs, because I can't meet your needs unless I know what they are. So thank you for sharing that. We're a new nonprofit, so getting started and locating donors and getting our name out there. Okay, Rhonda, I'm just going to send you a little patience, because I'm going to say this really quick just to you. There's 5 phases of anything. And the first phase is ideation, where we create an idea. And the second phase is concentration and focus, where you're going to have to give a lot more than you're going to get. And you're going to feel like you're going to give up, or you may feel like you want to give up, and you may feel like that this is never going to work, but it's just part of a phase, and you're going to get through that. So just keep doing what you're doing, keep looking, because the only thing that will stop you is you, right? It'll work. If you keep going, it'll work. And I promise that. All right. So here's the problem. Is that I've been doing this a long, long time. I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a second, but I've been working in nonprofit since the early 90s, the spray and pray era. We had newsletters, and we didn't know who opened them. We didn't know, right? We just put the message out and hope somebody received it. And now it's a much different time, and we have so many more tools available to help us engage with people. But what has been consistent, what I found, is that what we're trying to do is make people care. And we think that with the right message, with the right word, with the right, like one more email, one more annual appeal, that person will donate, one more cup of coffee, one more tour. We think there's something that we can do to change their mind. And I'm going to say, and I've been doing this, I said, since the early 90s. And the thing I know for sure is that I can't make somebody care. And what I can do is connect to like-minded people, and this is why we're going to talk about the philanthropic heart. So why somebody cares is more about their life, their upbringing, their worldview than it is what we tell them. And what we've been taught is you can make people care. And listen, I've been marketing. I wrote a book about it. I've done nonprofit marketing for decades. And what I know for sure is because I can't change what's in somebody's heart. I can't make you love me. Oh God, I wish I could. And I can't. Okay. Okay. I'm going to say this, that we get on the same page directly to the heart, because what's more vulnerable than a child? So, but we want to leave always with a message of action and hope. Okay. I love that comment, and thank you for sharing that with me. And definitely this is going to help you understand how to create a vision to not just relieve pain, but create a vision that people can get behind, can invest in. All right, so let's stop. If there's one thing you can take from me today, you don't stop trying to make people care. It makes fundraising marketing hard. It makes your job exhausting. What you're doing is trying to get somebody to do something that they were never going to do. And that takes up a lot of time and energy. So instead of trying to make people care, what we're going to do is find and connect with like-minded people. So let me go back to my presentation. A couple of slides. Okay. So what we were taught is like, oh, there's some kind of magic wand that if I say this right thing, or I do this right thing, then that person will give. If I have the right script, if I have the right story, if they're the right template. And there really isn't that, because trust me, if I had it, I'd give it to you 100%. But that isn't it. And yet we have this dream. And so what magic wand thinking looks like is, oh, here's a surefire template that will get something every time. Or, magic wand thinking is, if I just had the right donor base, or if I could just get my board to do this. There is no one thing. There is no one way. What I'm teaching you is an approach that's a little bit different, that's more centered on, instead of sharing your organization, tapping into the other people and finding that connection. All right. And Joshua's going to monitoring the Q&A for me. So you have questions, let me know, and I'm going to pause and ask them. So I know that trying to make people care doesn't work, right? Because I've tried that and you've tried that. So what does work? And I'm going to show you what does work and exactly how to do this. And I named this methodology, the Philanthropic Heart, because what I learned is that I can't change what's in people's hearts. So I'm going to share with you kind of what that is and what that looks like, and also how to understand your own and your organization's philanthropic heart, and how to connect with someone else's to see if it's a fit for your organization. So I'm going to talk about the concept, what it is. I'm going to talk about how to identify it, and then I'm going to talk about how to apply it in meetings with your donors. Okay. Or potential donors. So if you don't know me, I am so glad to meet you. I'm Mary Ann Dersch. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. My company is called Courageous Communication, which is the same name as my book. I have a podcast called The Influential Nonprofit, and I've just started to all my podcasts are also on YouTube, so you can watch them. And now I'm doing Instagram and TikTok, and it's very cool. It's really fun. I'm taking my podcast and cutting it up into little reels and stories. It's very cool. Anyway, I'm around and I've been doing this work a long time. I coach and train nonprofit leaders all over the country on how to grow their influence. Because here's what happened is, before I say this, let me say this. If you want, this is my Uplevel Your Influence Starter Kit. You can go to nonprofitleadershipguide.com. And you can download these goodies if you would like. I have an ebook called Stop Sitting Back and Start Making Change. A lot of the concepts that I talk about today are in that book. And then the biggest thing in here is this difficult conversations guide. I give you a step-by-step. I'm going to share with you how to have a conversation and identify the philanthropic heart. And this is a step-by-step template, exact language on how to use that. So you're going to want to download that. So thank you for the link. I appreciate the support. This is wonderful. Okay. All right. So what we've been taught is that we have to market. Like we have to sell, pitch, convince, push people into doing something. That's our job as development people, as nonprofit communicators, leaders, marketers, all of those things. That's what we've been taught. We have to push, sell, convince. Because if we do these things, then we can get people to care. But I'm going to tell you this one thing that is so true. People hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And what does that mean? Like, what does that mean when we hate to be sold, but they love to buy? That's about choice. Right? When I feel sold, I feel pushed into something. When I feel pushed into something, what happens is I get defensive. And this is just how our brains work, right? When I try to pitch you, when I try to sell you, you immediately go into defense mode. We go back in here into our instinct brain, and we're trying to poke holes. We get defensive. And once we get defensive, and once we go back here, our ability to receive new information greatly diminishes. So people will buy, like this little puppy is showing you here with his heart, people will buy to the level that they feel seen and heard. So your job is not to sell somebody. Your job is to help people feel seen and heard. And what we've been taught is, oh, I have to show them my case for giving. I have to show them like how good we are and our outcomes. And those are important. Those are important. Those are very important. And also they come second. Your first job is that help people feel seen, heard, and understood. When they feel seen, heard, and understood, they relax. When they relax, they're more open to what you have to say. Now, before I get more into this, I would love to hear thoughts, comments, feedback on this. Any questions on what I just said before I go forward? So we're shifting out of trying to convince people, and we're moving into, I know people are more likely to do what I want them to do because they feel seen and heard. So let me just share this for a minute. I work in nonprofit marketing for many, many years, and I was working with clients on their messaging and their branding. But I saw why they weren't communicating effectively wasn't because they didn't have the right message, or they didn't have the right, Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kathleen, what does it seen and heard being look like in real life? Thank you. Okay. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it. So you're lucky you're here. Because this is a new way of doing things, but let me just share with you. I was thinking, like, why did some clients really get it and just run with these concepts and these new tools, and other clients didn't? And it had to do with their inside. So you can't communicate effectively externally unless you're communicating effectively internally. And what makes people communicate effectively internally is understanding their value, being able to manage what I call meaningful conversations that may have a higher level of emotion in them, to be able to manage rejection, to be able to handle objections, all of those things. That's what makes people communicate effectively. So I moved away from, I still work with organizations on their messaging and marketing, but I moved away from that and kind of put something in front of it, which is I teach people influence. And by influence, I mean how to get people you have no authority over to do what you want them to do. So how can you enroll people in the vision that you have without convincing or selling? Because once you have the ability to do that, then fundraising is so much easier. Board relationships, any relationship that you have, any relationship that you had inside or outside of work becomes easier because you know how to enroll people in your vision. And how you do that is by having them feel seen and heard and understood. So it's less about, I have this thing I want you to do for me. It's more, I want to tap into who you are and what's going on with you so I can see if there's a fit. And I'm going to walk through exactly how to do that and show you some examples, tell you some examples so that you can start to think about this and integrate this. I just had an experience this is Misha Marie, exactly. When a 30K donation grew to 100K donation, basically just by listening. Thank you, Jennifer, for feeling seen, heard, and understood. All right. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, because that's what I saw people really actually creating change and really upping their level, like your ability to stand in your value, to relate to people, to receive people. That has everything to do with how you market externally. People just don't see that as a link, but that's what I saw. So that's what I work with folks on. I have a course called Up Level Your Influence, and I coach and train people like nonprofit leaders from all over the country. We come together and we go deep into the concepts that I'm teaching you today. It's really transformational, and it's the best thing I've ever done. Okay. And all right. So let me just walk you through the Philanthropic Heart. I'm going to share with you what it is and then how we identify it. So the Philanthropic Heart is a concept where, instead of trying to get my organization to have meaning in your life, I look for what meaning you have in your life and how my organization can resonate with it. So our philanthropic heart is, like everything in our personality, based in lived experiences. It's formed in us mostly, I think, from our lived experiences, and mostly from early childhood, like most of our personality is. Now, the philanthropic heart, it focuses on future gains. So the person who commented there about that works with the sex trafficking organization, it's a heavy thing. We are relieving pain, but what are we creating on the other side of that? What are we creating? What in the app, what are we creating? What is the vision that we want? Instead of focusing on what we don't want, what do we want? And I want to stop here because, hold on just one second. And it also accepts people for who they are, not who we want them to be. So a deep source of pain in our life can come from, in any aspect of our life, can come from wanting people to be something that they're not, because it can help us. Okay. Patty, thank you so much. At the end of this, I'll invite you into, if you want to have a meeting with me, I'll give you a link to do that. And if you're interested, I'm happy to talk with you. Okay. We accept people for who they are, not who we want them to be. And we believe what they tell them about us. So a lot of times, especially like, because sometimes fundraising, we can have a scarcity mindset. Like, I got to get this person to give me this, because if they don't give it to me, where am I going to get it from? How am I going to find somebody else? So we tend to spend a lot of time with people who really weren't going to give. I call those fantasy relationships, because we're not willing to accept that they're not really going to do this, because we don't want to let them go, because we're afraid we won't be able to find somebody else. And when we do that, then what happens is we color then who they are. We're not seeing them for who they really are. Okay. We're seeing them for who we want them to be. And that causes miscommunication and misalignment. And so so the philanthropic heart, those three things, it's based on lived experience. It focuses on the future, and it accepts people for who they are, not who we want them to be. And when I say it focuses on the future, what I'm saying is, so an organization here, their mission is to end homelessness. Now, I love that. That's a great mission to have. But what are we creating on the other side of that? What would our community look like if we had no homeless people, if everyone was housed? What are we creating? So what are we creating on the other side when we end sex trafficking? What does that community look like? What do we look like? What are we building? Like, if we have an after school program for kids, we want to keep kids off the streets. Well, a lot of things keep kids off. A lot of things can keep kids off the streets. Jail. And what are we creating on the other side of that? A community that's safe and caring, a community where everybody feels loved, a community, it's like, what are we creating on the other side? And I'm really making a big push in how I work with organizations to say, yes, it is okay. I want to relieve a pain, because I know there are hurting, suffering people, and we're here to help them. But then what's on the other side? What are we creating together? What is the new world that we are creating? Because that's what people want to invest in. Yes, they want to relieve suffering. They want to be a part of something that's greater than themselves. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more in a minute. So if you look at the philanthropic heart, those are the three main tenets. These are born from our lived experience. So I'll give you my lived experience. Like, this is my formative story of my life. I am a later in life child. Okay. My mom had 4 kids, 7 years later, surprise, not done yet, mama. And, when I was born, my dad was still parking the car. And my mom's birth was so fast, and my family would joke that, she just couldn't wait to start meeting people. But it was fun, and it was a fun way to grow up. And also it was a difficult and complicated way to grow up, because I always felt like I was a mistake, that I didn't really deserve to be here. When I was little, my family called me Michelob, because at the time my dad worked for Anheuser-Busch here in St. Louis, and their tagline, the Michelob's tagline, was the unexpected pleasure. And I was like, wait, hold on, what? And so I felt kind of a little left out and left behind my whole life. Like, I felt like I was always chasing them. They got to do something, and I wasn't ready. And what that gave me, though, was a huge sense of empathy, And now I'm a master of inclusion because I grew up feeling excluded. But if you look at my life and the way I see my philanthropic role is I'm a rescuer, right? I have foster dogs. My kids are adopted out of foster care. Like anything where you feel left out or left behind, I'm your girl. And so, because that's just from my lived experience, that's how I was wired. So why does somebody care about, your organization? Like say you work with adults with disabilities versus somebody who works with, people with diabetes or with seniors or with kids, like there's so many different causes. Why does somebody care more about one than about the other? And that is less to do with the marketing and the message that you send and has more to do with just what is in their heart, what is calling to them. And once you align those hearts, right, then you could, that's now they have a reason for being there. And it's not because of your great messaging. And like I said, I'm in a words business. I love marketing. I love messaging. I'm just saying the messaging now that we're going to do is not to change people's mind, but it's to connect to those like-minded people who share our heart. So that's all we need to do. We don't have to change anybody. Everybody can just be exactly who they are. You're perfect. Nobody's broken. Nobody needs to be fixed. Nobody needs to change. Everybody's perfect exactly as they are. All I'm doing now is creating marketing and creating signals in my life that are calling to these people who share my heart. And that is a big shift. So I'm going to pause and let that land. And if you have any questions or comments, I would love to field them. And please put the questions in the Q&A because I'm watching the chat and so is Joshua. And I want to make sure I don't miss any. And I don't know if you'll receive the recording today, but I bet somebody at Bloomerang can tell me. All right. Is this resonating? Is this making sense? How are you feeling about what I'm sharing? Okay, good. All right. We're going to talk about the how right next. Good. It makes sense. Good. All right. All right, good. All right. So now that we know that our job is to use our messaging, use our relationships, not to change people, but to connect with them, how do you do that? So this is what we're going to talk about. And, thank you, Rose. This is exactly the way I felt from the beginning of my nonprofit. Just haven't understood it. Yeah, you are amazing. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Paula. It's so good to see you. Oh, thank you. Okay. And this is just, this is just my lived experience. This is just what I've learned and gained from working with nonprofits all over. Before I started my company in 2018, I worked with, for 16 years, worked with a local company here called 501 Creative. And I worked, and that's kind of the basis of my book, is all of these different experiences. And I'm just paying attention, like what's working and what's not. Okay, so let's talk about this. I'm going to spend some time on this slide, and you'll get the slides and the recording, but feel free to screenshot if you need this right away. I'm fine with that. So these are the components of Philanthropic Heart. And I'm going to walk through each of them. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this slide because I really want you to understand, because this is how we're now going to connect with people, right? And so this is what the people are looking for. All right. So this is what donors, potential donors, really anyone you connect with in any way in your life. Because see, this is my work. Okay. It's not just like about your work. It's about your whole life. Because how you show up one place is how you show up another place. Oh, yeah. Okay. So before I go into this, I'm going to answer the two questions. Patricia, I love it, but I don't know how. I'm going to teach you how. You're in. And then Patty, yes, my book is on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. And if you join my course, I'll give it to you. So, but you can find it on Amazon. Okay, so first is integrity. People want, what is that integrity? The foundation of any relationship is trust. So I have to have integrity. You have to have integrity, which means what I do and what I say are as close as possible. That the integrity creates trust, and trust is the foundation of any relationship. So that is the foundation. We can't do anything if we don't have that, if we don't have integrity in place on both sides. The second thing is important. People want to feel important. That's okay. We have an ego. We want to feel significant. Everyone has an ego. It's fine to have an ego. Some people want their name on a building. Some people want a phone call. It's it is okay. And I think sometimes the ego can gets like a bad rap, for us. So don't worry, but we want the ego, okay? We want the ego, or it's fine. People want to feel important. Now they want to feel that integrity, they want the trust, and they want to feel important. And third, they want to feel interconnected. That means my friend Amy Fazio has a great saying, and it is, people come for the cause, but they stay for the community. They want to feel like they're connected to something bigger than themselves. Now, I feel like overall, nonprofits do a really good job of integrity and important. Yes, we create high trust levels, right? We are really good at that. And we're really good at the ego. We know how to make people feel good about what they're doing. We love that, So hold on, I'm trying to pull up the guide for you so you can get the link in here. Can we give me one quick second? Because she said the link wasn't working. So I'll give you the more direct one.
I got it, Marianne.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Good. You're so good. No, that's the book. No, I was doing the leadership guide. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Come on now.
Yeah, no, I have it. The career.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we want to feel interconnected. So we want to feel connected to something greater than ourselves. And then, so these first three things, these are sort of like lower order needs. And what I'm saying is these are our base needs. We need to feel trust. We need to feel important. We need to feel connected to something greater than ourselves. That's it. Okay. 4, 5, and 6 are what I call higher order needs. This is about creating a vision. This is about stepping into greatness. So 4 is improved. We want to feel growth. We want to feel like our contribution matters. We want to feel like we have opportunities to grow in our personal, professional life. So opportunities for growth. And the last thing is inspired, which is I want to feel inspired to contribute. Contribution is the highest, the need to give back. We all have a need to give back. And so when we feel inspired, to that our contribution matters and that what we have is important, then we're going to give back. So what we're doing is we're identifying in your organization, how do we communicate our integrity? How do we communicate that the people around us are important to us? How do we connect people to something greater than themselves? How do we give people opportunities to improve their life via growth, contribution, personal, professional development, spiritual, whatever? How do we give people that? How can we give people I skipped invested. So how can we give people to be invested, which means contribute, opportunities for contribution? Then how can we make people feel inspired to create this vision with us, inspired that better things are possible? So instead of, focusing on relieving pain, what we're doing is creating a shared vision. What are we investing in? Like I said, what is the opposite of relieving the pain? What are the gains? So improved, invested, and inspired really focus on creating those gains. What is the vision? What are we all creating together? When you tap into those 4 things, right? The improved, invested, inspired are those bottom 3 things. If you give people opportunities for growth, if you give people opportunities for contribution in a way that feels meaningful to them, not always meaningful to you, right? But you know what I'm saying? in a way that they are honored to give, and keep them inspired and connected, they will stay with you. And I'll tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a couple stories right now, so you can really understand this. Like, I volunteer for a nonprofit. I'm going to do a podcast about this in a couple of weeks. I've been volunteering for 25 years, literally before it was even a formal nonprofit. I foster dogs. they're not a client. I don't have any leadership. I just pick up my puppies, get them adopted, go get other puppies. That's what I do. They had their 25th anniversary party, big fancy gala. Did not get an invitation. Now, I'm not looking for a freebie. It's a fundraiser. I'm happy to pay. But for some reason, some way along the way, I didn't feel important. I did not and I know it's not personal. It's about their institutional knowledge, which is why like software like Boomerang is so important, because it keeps that institutional knowledge. I stopped feeling important. I stopped feeling connected. And once that breaks, then now the relationship is diminishing. So our job is to help people feel like, understand that we have a way in our organization. How do we create inspiration? How do we create people to want to contribute, like to give back? I did a workshop over the summer, and this guy said, he's part of a federally qualified health center. And he said, we have to have patients, patients on our board. That's part of the requirement. I'm like, okay. He goes, but these are people who have been patients and they're low income. I don't know what to do with them. They don't have time or money. So how can they contribute? And I said, and I said, I don't know how they can contribute. I said, if you're cutting them off from the highest order need they have, the gift that they can give, ask them, how would you like to contribute? It doesn't have to be time or money. But when we dismiss that, now we're diminishing the relationship, and now they have a less investment. I was on the board of the Foster Adoptive Care Coalition. They were excellent at the improved, because they did this thing every year where we did this bus trip. We all got on the bus, and they took us to different agencies to help us understand what life was like in foster care. Now, my kids are adopted out of foster care. I know the scene, but a lot of people on the board didn't. And they got an opportunity for growth. They got an opportunity to improve themselves, to improve their knowledge, to improve their awareness of what happens in our community. And through that one experience, right? If you look at that one experience, that bus, they did it one day a year, every year, I think, before COVID. But that gave them opportunity to improve themselves, to create growth. It gave them an opportunity. Then once that growth is, now they're more invested because they see the problem and they see the vision that the organization has, which inspires them to act. So looking at this is how we understand. So when you're talking with people, what you're listening for is what is important to them. How do they see themselves? Like, my old boss, I don't want my name on anything, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? She loved a phone call. If somebody, that's all she wanted, that was her significance. It was great. So we're listening for how, like, what kind of community do they want to be a part of? What is important to them? How do they get their significance, their ego needs met? How do they what communities are important to them? How do they like community? What growth opportunities are they looking for? What contribution opportunities are they looking for? What vision do they have for themselves? What are they inspired by? What vision do they have for themselves and the world? Okay. Okay. I will give resources at the end. And I'm identifying with this, but how does an introvert share their lived experiences without stressing? That's a great question. And oh goodness, hold on just one second. I have a problem. Hold on. My Mac. Oh goodness, my thing is not plugged in. There we go.
We're good?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
It was like, your Mac's about to shut down. I'm like, okay, that was like, you got to just See how the sausage is made there. Sorry about that. I guess it just wasn't plugged in right. And I hadn't noticed till I got the thing. That'd be rough. Okay. So let's go back to that. All right. So you really don't have to share your experiences. And I'm guessing what you're saying is like, in this case, I'm looking at you as the one who is trying to connect or working on building a relationship with someone else. And if that's the case, you don't really have to share a lot of your experiences because you are looking to tap into other people's experiences. And the second thing is, when I show you this methodology, what we're doing is we're creating a safe space for people to do and say whatever they want. So if they're not comfortable, that's okay too. And we often don't have to share our like, I don't have to share my trauma in order for you to understand that my needs are driven from that trauma. Like, you don't have to know the story of my life to understand, to listen and see what's important to me. So we always don't have to know the why. We just have to focus on the what, right? Like, I don't know why this is like this, but this is just who this person is. I don't always need to know the underneath. All right. I hope that helps. So any other questions or thoughts about that? All right. And I think the thing is too is, and this is what I coach and train people on a lot, is the most vulnerable person in the room is the most powerful person in the room. And your ability to share authentically is so important because people are hungry for authenticity. There's so much bull in the world right now. People want authentic, open connections. And so the more that you can, from that place of integrity, not from stress, because we don't want to come from stress, like that, knowing that by being open and vulnerable, I am connecting to people on a deeper level. And if you listen to my podcast, like if you follow me at all, like I'm really transparent. People want transparency. They want authenticity. And we've been taught, that's another thing we've been taught. Everybody wants the shiny thing, the shiny brochure and all of that. Those are important. I believe those are important. Also, what people want is authenticity. Okay. And so just remember, the more vulnerable you can be, the more powerful you are. And I help people really tap into that and have like some really deep confidence. The other thing I want to say is the energy by which you create guides and determines the creation. So energy precedes outcomes. Energy is everything. So doing from a place of openness and possibility, you're going to attract a lot more people to you than desperation and fear. Okay. All right. Do you have suggested questions? Yes, I do. Okay. Malia, you are awesome. If you download that nonprofit leadership guide, I have a template exactly there with exact language that you could start using or work into your own language. What is your karaoke? I will answer that at the end, Paula. Okay. Remind me if I don't. Okay. So this is how we connect to a philanthropic heart. So I taught you what it is. Right. Explain the concept. I told you the different aspects of it. Right. Now what I want to share with you is how to do this. Okay. So here's the first thing. And this is the biggest thing. If you can do this, you're going places. And this is going to sound a little counterintuitive, but hang with me because it works. Okay. First thing is release the outcome. And what I mean by that is, if I have an expectation that I want something from someone, I'm not going to be able to see them for who they are. I'm going to be seeing them from the lens of who I want them to be. Right. And so when I release the outcome, and if you look at this slide, it says the more you invest in the outcome, the less likely you are to get something. So, and I mean this like from 100% grounded inside of me. I'm okay. I'm not going to be okay. I'm already okay. Whatever happens is okay. I can hold space for that. I really want something to happen, but then also go, I know it's okay if it's not. People can sense that desperation. We can feel it. Remember, energy is everything. And if you really need something to happen, people go into instinct brain. They go into the defense. They're not comfortable and they don't exactly understand why. But they're just not, there's something off. And I know this is true because you felt it from the other side. The more like, you're like, ooh, your whole body kind of goes back. Your whole body, kind of like, what? So just releasing the outcome. You have everything you need. The less likely you are to want it, the more likely they will do it. Remember I said people hate to be sold, they love to buy. This is what this means. I was like, hey, whatever you decide is totally okay. At the end of this, I will invite people who are interested in connecting with me into a conversation. And and I always say, hey, and whatever you decide is totally okay. I have no investment in the outcome. And what that does is it helps people relax, and it helps both of you relax because they don't have to be anything to you. You can witness them for who they are, and it helps them relax because they're free to say no. And a lot of times we don't release the outcome because we're afraid they're going to say no, and we really want them to say yes. I'm going to share something really profound with you after that. Okay, so this takes a little practice. Oh, it does keep future communication open. And Joshua, can you post that link again to the leadership guide, please?
You bet. I'm on it.
Hold on, let me lose this.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay.
You bet.
So, now, the more invested you are in the outcome, the less likely you'll see it. So I know if there's something I can hold space, I'd love for this to work out. And if I'm overly invested, so how can I be okay? So I had a client and she took my course and she's like, my board, she really wanted this new building, and the board, she said, we're having these cyclical conversations. They keep asking me, they keep coming up with these concerns, and everything I do, I can't diminish their concerns. And I don't think I'm going to get the building. They're not going to approve it. I'm like, let's go back to what we know. You're attached to the outcome, and you're not listening because you're attached to the outcome. So if I can release the outcome, then I can really listen to their concerns. I said, you get to your work, let's work on getting yourself to the place where you're okay if whatever happens in the building. And because they're sensing that there's something you want, they would even say to her, I hate to ask you this. They were embarrassed to have to ask this, because they knew how much she wanted it. So when guess what happened? We worked on releasing the outcome, and the conversation, when she released it, they could choose it for themselves, and they did choose it, and she eventually got the building. I'm working on this in my front yard. So last year we had to replace the pipes in my front yard, and it's still chewed up. And like my husband was like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what to do. I'm like, you know what? I'm releasing the outcome on this one. Because the more I wanted it, the more I wasn't like the more he was pushing against this idea that I had. So I'm just releasing the outcome on the idea. And he came back and he's like, can we talk about those plans again? I'm like, absolutely. Okay. So number 2 is, so when we approach anything, we release the outcome first. And then second is listen. I can't know what your needs are until I hear them. I'm listening. That's all I have to do. I don't have to have all the answers, have all the data, have all the facts. It's really not about what you say. We've been taught, I have to get my and show them, here's how amazing we are. Would you love to take a look at this? Like, now you can have that. And I got that. But your job is to listen. And because what you're doing is listening. And if you go back to that screen with my 6, how we define the philanthropic heart, we just have those in our mind. We're listening for, okay, this is how they get their significance. Okay, this is how they like to be connected to people. Oh, okay, this is what kind of growth opportunities or contribution opportunities they're looking for. So instead of pitching, we're going to listen. All we have to do is listen. And if you download the guide, I have a template and I have some exact wording for this, but just know your job is to listen, to help them feel seen and understood. I want to validate what they say. I want to empathize and validate. I don't have to solve, fix, or change anything. So let's say somebody, so I did this workshop and this woman said, she was a consultant. I met with this donor and first of all, he took the meeting. So he sat down and said, I don't know why I'm meeting with you because you're just going to ask me for money. And she said, I was so like taken aback. I said, oh, no, I'm not going to ask you for money, even though the whole purpose of the meeting was to ask for money. But that objection hit her so hard that she kind of just like, whoa, she's like, what would you have done? And I was like, I can't, blah, blah, blah. I know you're just going to ask me for money. Like, oh my gosh. That was an interesting statement. Tell me about that. What makes you think that? I think, did something happen? I'm thinking if that was me, he might've gotten hosed in the past or something. There's definitely something going on. So I'm going to set aside my agenda, right? And just listen, because there's no way he's going to listen to me until I understand him. And when you do this listening and when you practice this and people start to feel seen, heard, and understood, they will relax. You will see it in their body. You will see them go, oh my God, they get me. They understand me. And then from that place of connection, we're going to find our opening. So this is the third piece of the three ways we look for the philanthropic heart. Now I have an opening. Oh, now I see where one of those needs that you have in your philanthropic heart connects with something we have. Then now, instead of pitching you, I'm like, there's something you said I want to talk about. You mentioned, this, and I would love to go back to that because I think has some promise. I would love to talk with you more. Is that okay? Just doing a time check. So instead of pitching, I'm listening, identifying the needs, right? And then finding an opening. I'm going to give you a great example. So let's say this is, I did a workshop and this woman said, well, I have 11 ways you can get involved in my nonprofit. And I give it to the prospect and I say, hey, look at these 11 things. What's standing out for you? What do you like? Well, people don't know what they like. And I'm not saying that to like, this is not being dismissive. Like if you give people a lot of choices, they often don't, it's, they analysis paralysis, right? They're like, I don't know. They want you to have direction. They want to know that you have a process and that you're listening and acting in their best interest. I'm putting the burden on that person to decide what he should do. I said, have the list, great, but you're going to keep it to the side, keep it in your back pocket, and you're going to listen. And then when that person says, oh, we love, one of the ways that, my company, we stay connected and that we, it gives us, it helps us feel connected is we love to do volunteer outings. Oh, well, hey, we're a food bank. We love having volunteers. In fact, we have a great corporate program. I'd love to talk to you about that. Is it okay if I share a little bit about what that is? Absolutely. Because I'm listening to your needs. So one of the guys I coached, Jonathan, he's the best. And he adopted this model and he had a meeting with a prospective donor. Like he wanted money to fund some professional development for his employees who are in India. And he went to this guy and he said, tell me what's going on. How are things? And the guy starts talking and he was talking about COVID and the struggles. And the guy said, I'm so grateful for my employees. I invested so much in them and in their development. And we've done so much training and professional development and it really paid off. And Jonathan was like, I hear my opening. They both value professional development, that they both value that growth opportunity, that improvement. And so after the conversation, and he said, I want to go back to something that you said about your professional development, because I believe in that too. And I have this conference and I would love for you to invest it because I know that's important to you too. He said, I talked to this guy many times before, many times, and I never knew that about him. So you can often get to the next level, get to that deeper connection, really what's in their heart, what they desire, because you're trying to sell somebody something they might not want to buy. And so I'm going to pause there for a second because we got a few more minutes and I got a little bit of bonus content that's really going to rock your world. Any other thoughts? Okay. Yes, they also lead to disappointments. Yes. So future expectations lead to resentments. They do, and disappointment. So the more that I can be open to whatever outcome, and it really opens up the channels of receptivity, because we may have a like, I want it to go like this, and then we're not paying attention to other opportunities over here, because like, no, I said we're going to do this, and then this thing, like, like this thing keeps calling. Oh, but we said we were going to raise it through the event. Oh, but okay, but now maybe we want to raise it through, more donor meetings. Like, that's going really well. So once we release the outcome of what we think should happen, okay. So before I go into my bonus content, I'm going to give you a thing. So if you struggle with landing the plane, like, oh, let me think about it and get back to you. Well, can you send me some paperwork or send me something to look at, and I'll follow up with you, or talk to me at the beginning of the year. I bet you're hearing that a lot. Why don't you talk to me in the beginning of the year? If you struggle with that, I'm going to solve that for you. And you can start using this right now. This radically changed my life. But before I'm going to do that, I want to say, if you like what I'm hearing, I have 7 slots available. You can take your phone, get this QR code, and it'll take you directly to my Calendly. You can book a time. I have a few slots open before the holiday and a lot more, but I'm going to keep this link open for an hour after this. So grab it now, fill out the form. If you want time with me, I'll stop it at 7. And so if I get 7 people, I'll stop it. And I'm just asking that if you book the time that you show up, because this is an incredible conversation. We can really tap into some of the concepts that you see here. It says the code is invalid. I tried that. Okay, man. Oh my gosh. Okay. No worries. I'm just going to put the link in here. We'll just do the link. I don't know why that happened. I tested everything, you guys. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let me just grab you the link really quick. While that's loading, I'll just share with you. If you struggle with, you guys, I'm so bummed. Okay. If you struggle with getting people to connect with, like, to respond to you. All right. Copy link. Here we go. This is it. And I just want to make sure I got those right. Okay. There's the link.
Right.
Hold on.
Did it work? Let's see.
Yeah,
here.
I think so.
I'll try it on my end. Yes. All right. All right. Looks like people have grabbed those times.
Okay. Hold on.
Miriam, while you're doing that, would it be all right for me to launch this quick poll here? So
yeah. Well, let me just, go ahead.
No, do you? So Marianne's going to add the availability in the calendar here. So just sit tight while she adjusts that. But if you would like just a general information, or you want to be added to Marianne's mailing list, or you, I know, Marianne, you're doing a virtual summit, right?
I am. I'm doing a virtual summit in January, December 26th and 27th. It's free. It's 2 days. It's called the Donor Attraction Forum. It's all manner of donor attraction. And you can, and if you want me to follow up with you, you can let them know in that survey, and and I will make sure that you get on this. Okay.
Great.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I'm going to go ahead and launch this survey. So if you'd like Marianne to follow up, add her to mail list, learn more about her upcoming event, go ahead and check that box. If you'd like more information about Bloomerang, let us know. We'd love to be able to help. I know as many of the things as Marianne called out, as you're trying to build those relationships with donors, having a tool like Bloomerang can be really helpful, as you can identify what their interests are and so on and so forth. So go ahead and let us know. I'll keep this open for a couple more minutes.
So I have the yes, the summit's virtual. It's all virtual, and you can get the recordings. So this is the link to my calendar. I'm so sorry for that technical thing. Please grab that if you're interested in chatting with me. Now, let me tell you how to land the plane. Okay. We got 1 minute. I'm going to change your life. Ready? So here's the thing. When somebody says to you, let me think about it and get back to you, you're not going to say, okay. You're going to say, that sounds great. How much time would you like to consider this? And what you're going to do is in that moment, book a follow-up call in that moment, because you're giving away your power. You're giving, when they say, oh, let me think about it and get back to you. Like, I'm so excited you're considering this. What I'd love to do and the way I work is let's put a date on the calendar now so that you can, and I'll send you that information and then we can get back together and I can answer any questions you have. They're either going to say yes. And if they say yes, book it. And if they hesitate, they're probably just telling you a story because they don't want to say no. All right. Yeah. So does that make sense, guys? So this is how you land the plane. Okay. Stop saying, okay, to let me think about it and get back to you. Stop accepting that in your life. And instead say, or like, can you send something over and I'll get back to you? Instead, you can say, I would love to send something to you. And why don't we set a follow-up call or a meeting right now? Everybody's got their phones. Everybody's got their calendar. When you do that, the people who are really interested will rise to the top, and the people who aren't, you can bless and release. It's totally okay. You're going to stop chasing people and getting disappointed because they were never going to do it anyway. They weren't, they just don't, you don't want to hear a no. I do a whole thing about receiving rejections and understanding it. If you're not willing to hear a no, you're going to get a lot of people who say, well, let me think about it, because they can sense that they don't want to disappoint you because we're nice people, we're nice people. We don't want to be disappointed. Sorry, I messed up that QR code. I made some adjustments at the last second. I guess I flubbed it. If any, I'm gonna my friend Patty, if you're still on the call, this is your moment. Okay, and if anybody else has anything, or I guess time is up, but there's any more questions or anything, I don't have to jump off right now.
I think the biggest question that we have here that's outstanding is, what is your karaoke song of the week? Now, I feel like I'm outside of a joke here, or there's something that I missed.
All right. So at the end of my podcast, every guest I say, so, because I love karaoke. I'm like, so if we were ever at karaoke together, what's your go-to song? So actually right now, my go-to song is Dua Lipa, Levitating. I'm crushing that number. And that's always a fun, everybody likes that one. All right,
mine is All the Small Things, because I can't sing, and that's one word. So basically, you just read the words, right? So
right. Sitting by the dock of the bay, Rose. I like, that's a good one. All right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 people who booked, so I have 2 more slots if anybody's interested in connecting with me. I appreciate y'all being here and listening and opening your mind to a new way of thinking and a new way of working. These are concepts that I use every day in my life. I use the exact same techniques in my business. So I just want you to know I eat my own cooking. I'm not telling you anything I wouldn't do. Thank you for this, and have a wonderful holiday. Anything else, Joshua?
No, I think we're good, Marianne. It was always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I believe this is our last webinar for the year, which is so weird to say, but we wish everyone a very, very wonderful holiday and a fantastic start to 2023. Good luck. I know fundraisers are crashing and sort of getting all those last minute donations in. We wish you all the best of luck on that, and look forward to seeing you online in 2023. Have a great day, everyone.
Okay, and I just threw my email on the chat if anybody needs it. All right, take care, guys.
Bye, all.